I was cleaning the kitchen when my mother-in-law slammed a plate on the counter and shouted, "You touch our things like you paid for them." Her son just sat there and laughed. "She's getting too comfortable. Time to remind her she's just a guest." I said nothing. Just took one thing from that house before I left. A thing that would turn every room inside out. I didn't grow up with family dinners or bedtime stories. I grew up in group homes, county shelters, and short-term foster placements. Most people don't understand what that does to your brain. You learn early not to expect anything permanent. You learn to pack your things fast and small because at any moment, someone might tell you it's time to go. So when I met Aaron in college, I attached to him harder than I should have. He was kind. Or, at least he seemed kind. He remembered little things I said. He picked me up from late-night shifts. He held my hand during panic attacks when the world felt too loud. I think I mistook consistency for love. Maybe I was just tired of sleeping with one foot on the floor, always ready to run. Aaron was different from me. His parents were still married. They sent him care packages with new socks and expensive snacks. They paid his tuition, gave him a car. He called them annoying sometimes, the way kids who never had to fight for love do. But I envied him for it. He never seemed to worry about being left. We got married right after graduation. I was 23. I didn't even care that his parents didn't come. I didn't have anyone either. We had a courthouse ceremony with 2 of his friends and a half-eaten cake from a local bakery.
I thought it was sweet at the time.
I told myself, this is our fresh start. About a year into our marriage, Aaron got laid off. He worked in IT at a mid-sized company that downsized. At first, he tried to find something new, but nothing stuck. He spiraled a bit. Stayed up late playing games. Drank more than usual. I picked up extra hours at work. I kept us afloat. That's when his parents stepped in. His dad offered him a desk job at the family's accounting firm. It wasn't his field, but it was something. The catch was, we had to move in with them for a short time. Just until we got back on our feet. I said no at first. I knew it would go bad. His mom, Deborah, had always been cold to me, even before the wedding. When we got engaged, she asked Aaron privately if I was marrying up. She never said it to my face, but I felt it in every interaction. The way she looked through me, the way she called me her instead of my name. But Aaron was tired, and I was tired, and he promised it would only be 6 months. It ended up being 3 years. 3 years of walking on eggshells. 3 years of pretending I didn't hear the things she muttered when I walked by. 3 years of being treated like a stray animal they took in out of guilt. At first, I tried hard. I made dinner a few nights a week. I offered to help around the house. I kept our rooms spotless. I never left dishes in the sink. I stayed quiet when Deborah accidentally locked me out one afternoon because I took too long at the grocery store. But it never mattered. She'd find something to criticize. I cut vegetables too slow. I stacked the dishwasher wrong. I folded towels backward. She had this look she'd give me, tight lips, raised eyebrows, like I was some sloppy child. I would sit in silence while she made backhanded comments during dinner, and Aaron just let it happen. He used to say, "She's just set in her ways. Don't take it personally." But it was personal. It wasn't just Deborah either. His father, Carl, acted like I didn't exist. I'd say good morning, and he wouldn't look up from his paper. I think he thought I tricked his son into marrying me. I could tell he resented how dependent Aaron had become. The worst part? Our room. The guest room. That's what they always called it. Never your room. Never your space. Just the guest room. And yeah, it had a bed, a dresser, a closet, but it was never mine. They kept storage boxes in there, old books, photo albums, off-season clothes. Once, Deborah came in without knocking while I was folding laundry, and she just said, "I need to get something from the closet." This room's still our storage. Like I wasn't even there. By the second year, something in me started to crack. I stopped trying to impress them. I started staying out more. I'd sit in the public library for hours, just to feel invisible in a different way. Then came that night. It was a normal Tuesday. I had worked a double shift and came home exhausted. Dinner was leftovers, so I cleaned the kitchen after we ate. Aaron was watching TV with his dad, barely acknowledging me. I was wiping down the counter when Deborah walked in. She stood behind me for a while, just watching. Then, out of nowhere, she slammed a plate onto the counter, hard enough that I thought it might crack. "You touch our things like you paid for them," she snapped. I froze. The plate wobbled in place. My hand was still holding the cloth. Aaron laughed. He didn't even turn his head. Just said, "She's getting too comfortable. Time to remind her she's just a guest." They both laughed. That word,
Guest.
it punched the air out of me. I finished cleaning. Slowly. Quietly. Then I went upstairs. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just sat on the edge of the bed for a long time. Then I packed one small bag. A few clothes. My laptop. Toothbrush. And I took one thing from that house. It wasn't money. It wasn't jewelry. It was Deborah's wedding album. She kept it in a lockbox in the closet of the guest room, my closet. It was old, thick, leather-bound. She used to brag about it to visitors. Said it was full of family history. She never noticed that I'd looked through it, page by page. She never noticed that over the past 6 months, I had quietly scanned every page and saved them in a hidden drive on my laptop. What she didn't know, that album held more than just photos. There were letters in there, real ones. From old boyfriends, from relatives. Things that should have never been kept. Things that said a lot more than she realized. I'd read them all. Things that could make people see her differently. Her church friends. Her neighbors. Even Carl. I walked out that night without a word. Left Aaron asleep on the couch. That wedding album was the only thing I took. And I wasn't planning to destroy it. Not yet. But I knew what was in it. And I knew how to use it. After I left that night, I stayed in a cheap motel for 3 days. I didn't tell anyone where I was. I kept my phone on silent and only turned it on once a day to check for work emails. Aaron called twice. Left a voicemail the first time. It was short. "Where did you go? You're being dramatic. Come back, so we can talk like adults." I didn't respond. By the 4th day, I found a room to rent. It was in a stranger's basement, but it was clean. No windows, no kitchen, no privacy, but I had a door I could lock, and no one was watching me breathe. That was enough. I got a second job. Started saving. Stopped thinking about love. 2 weeks passed before I got a message from Aaron again. It wasn't an apology. It was a screenshot of our wedding photo with the message, "You forgot what commitment means." I stared at it for a long time. We hadn't even spoken since I left. He hadn't asked if I was safe, if I needed anything, if I was okay. Just guilt and anger. The next day, I got served divorce papers. He didn't even try to talk. Just mailed them straight to my new job, addressed in his handwriting. I signed. Quietly. Quickly. I didn't want to fight him. I didn't want to fight for someone who didn't even flinch when his mom called me dirt. But I wasn't done either. A month later, I started seeing things online. A few community posts, church newsletters. Deborah ran a Bible study group, and I knew she was obsessed with her image. She called herself a marriage counselor, even though she had no credentials. Just experience, apparently. I made a burner email. Sent copies of the scanned letters to 2 women from her prayer circle. Carefully selected pages. Nothing illegal. Just ugly. Racist jokes from Carl in old birthday cards. Passive-aggressive notes Deborah had written to Carl's ex. One letter where she talked about cheating on him the summer before their 30th anniversary and how she never regretted it. I didn't attach a name. Just sent the files with the message. Thought you should know who you're taking advice from. A week later, I heard from one of my old coworkers who lived near Aaron's parents. "You hear what happened?" she asked. Someone exposed Deborah at her own women's brunch. Said she was a liar, a fake. Carl walked out. People are talking. I said I hadn't heard. I changed the subject. I didn't go looking for updates. But they found me. A few nights later, I came home from my shift and saw something shoved under the basement door. A manila envelope. Inside, A printed photo of me and Aaron on our wedding day, ripped in half. A note in red pen. You will never be one of us. No signature, but I knew Deborah's handwriting. That was her way of warning me, of threatening me, telling me to stay away.
I didn't reply.
I didn't report it. I just waited. Then something unexpected happened.
Carl called me.
He never once looked me in the eye when I lived there, but now he was calling my personal number. I picked up out of curiosity. Did you send those letters? He asked. His voice was tired, older than I remembered. I don't know what you're talking about, I said. There was a pause. Then he said, I left her. I didn't say anything. I read everything. I didn't know about the affair. Or what she wrote to you. I'm sorry. I almost laughed. It felt too strange to hear that word from him. Then he said something that made my stomach twist. I want you to come back. I hung up. The next morning, I woke up to a missed call and a text from Aaron. You think you're clever? You tore this family apart. No apology. Just blame. I could have ignored it all. Moved on. Let the fire smolder. But that text flipped something in me. Because I didn't tear them apart. They were already rotting from the inside. I just let the light in. And I had more than letters. I had video. The videos weren't something I went looking for. They found me. During the last few months I lived in that house, I started using an old flash drive to store the scanned wedding album files. It was a cheap one, maybe 8 gigabytes, something Aaron had given me when we were still pretending to be happy. I'd kept it in the drawer beside the bed under some socks, forgotten most of the time. When I was packing that night, I grabbed it without thinking. Weeks later, I plugged it into my laptop while sorting through files, planning to delete everything I didn't need. That's when I found a hidden folder. It wasn't mine. The folder was titled Home Backup and dated 2 years before I even moved in. Inside were a bunch of short video files. Home security clips. Most were boring shots of the front porch, driveway, someone mowing the lawn. But one file was labeled Garage 03_17. I almost deleted it without looking. But I clicked. The clip opened with grainy footage of the garage. It was late. No timestamp, but you could tell it was night. A car door slammed. Then Deborah appeared, walking fast across the frame. She looked flustered. A man followed behind her, not Carl. Someone younger. Dark jacket, bald. She grabbed him by the shirt and kissed him. Hard. Then they argued. I couldn't hear what they were saying, but her hands were waving. His face was tense. She shoved him once. He shoved her back. Then they left the frame. I just sat there, watching it twice. This wasn't just about cheating. This was about secrets, about control, about the image she built her entire life on and how fake it all was. I kept digging, watched a few more clips. Most weren't dramatic. But then I found one labeled kitchen_01_11. It showed Aaron. He was standing in the kitchen with his father. I remember that day. It was the week after I made dinner, and Deborah dumped it in the trash because I used the wrong olive oil. Aaron said something to Carl, and Carl slapped him. Not a full swing, just a fast, sharp backhand. Aaron didn't flinch. He looked like he expected it. Carl grabbed his arm, got close to his face, then walked off. I watched that clip 4 times. I kept thinking, why didn't he tell me? Why didn't I know? Because that's the thing no one talks about. Hurt people hurt other people, sure, but sometimes they protect the ones who hurt them too. It's how the cycle keeps going. You think, they were mean to me, but they raised me. They love me. It's complicated. But I couldn't ignore it anymore. Aaron wasn't just lazy. He was broken. Just like me. But instead of breaking the cycle, he joined it. He became their weapon. Used their language. Laughed when they hurt me. He chose survival over decency. And now I had evidence of it all. But that wasn't the last twist. 3 weeks after the video discovery, I was walking home from my shift when someone approached me outside the 7-Eleven near my rented room. She looked familiar.
Young.
Nervous. Were you married to Aaron? I nodded, unsure. She bit her lip. I'm his sister. I blinked. He doesn't have a sister.
She shook her head.
Different mom.
I'm 20. He doesn't talk about me.
I live with my grandmother.
I didn't know what to say.
She handed me a folded piece of paper. He told Deborah you were crazy, that you ran off and took things. But I saw the video. The one in the garage. And I know what they did to you. I opened the paper. It was a list.
Names. Dates.
Places. And at the top, one word.
Settlements.
Then she said, "You're not the only one they tried to ruin." And she walked away. The list she gave me didn't make sense at first. But when I got back to my room and sat down to study it, I started to understand. There were names I didn't know. Women. A few men. Beside each name was a year, and either the word NDA, settled, or dropped. A few had short notes beside them. Assistant, 2014, neighbor dispute, 2016, church volunteer, hush payment. Deborah and Carl had been paying people off for years. It wasn't just family drama.
It was a pattern.
A system. I stayed up all night looking into the names. One of them, Lisa Dunley, had written a blog back in 2015 talking vaguely about being mistreated by a local couple. Her post stopped suddenly. She deleted the blog a few weeks later. The Wayback Machine saved the pages. I screenshotted everything. By morning, I had a plan. It started with a Dropbox folder. I uploaded everything. The scanned wedding album, the garage video, the slap in the kitchen, the blog screenshots, the church newsletters, even photos of the ripped wedding picture Deborah had left at my door. I added a document at the top called, "You Wanted to Remind Me." Then I emailed the link to 20 people. I sent it to Deborah's Bible study group, Carl's firm partners, a few local reporters, the church pastor, 3 of the people from the list, using the emails Aaron's sister helped me track down. I sent it to Aaron too, with no subject line, no message. Then I waited. It took 24 hours. Deborah was the first to react.
She emailed me.
Just one sentence. "You have no idea what you've done." I didn't reply. 2 days later, Carl was suspended from the firm. An internal review was launched. A local paper ran a story about the accusations tied to a well-known church family, keeping names out for now. The story spread faster on Facebook, where someone leaked the Dropbox. One of the women on the list had uploaded it herself, adding her story in a comment. That's when it really exploded. Women started talking. Turns out, Deborah had a pattern of mentoring young women through the church and then turning on them the moment they became independent or threatened her image.
Threats.
Smear campaigns. Lawsuits that quietly disappeared. Carl had handled the payments. Aaron's name didn't appear in most of it, but that changed when another woman came forward. She had dated him before me. Said he'd borrowed money from her and then ghosted. Said Deborah threatened her when she demanded it back. The court of public opinion worked fast. The firm dropped Carl. The church asked Deborah to step down. Donations dried up. And Aaron? Aaron lost his job 2 weeks after the leak. He wasn't working for his dad anymore. He'd gotten hired at a startup 6 months after our split. But when the HR team got flooded with emails showing screenshots and Dropbox links, they let him go for personal conduct concerns. I didn't get money from any of it. I didn't want any. But I did get a call from one of the women on the list. Lisa. She thanked me. Said she'd felt crazy for years. Said Deborah made her feel like nothing. Like she deserved what happened. I told her I understood. Because I did. For a long time, I thought being quiet was the safe choice. That if I just endured long enough, someone would see me, protect me, give me a place. But silence isn't safety. It's just slow erasure. Months passed. I moved out of the basement room and got a real apartment. Just a studio, but I signed the lease myself. Bought a couch. Hung up a photo. Started to live like I wasn't afraid of being told to leave. Then one day, I got a letter in the mail. From Aaron. It wasn't angry. It wasn't kind either. Just bitter. A half apology tangled in self-pity. He wrote, "You hurt me too, you know. You left me when I needed help." I read it 3 times. And maybe he was right a little. I didn't just leave him. I left the version of myself that thought loving someone meant swallowing pain. I never wrote back. The last I heard, Deborah and Carl separated. Not legally divorced, just living in different states. Their house was listed for sale. The church replaced Deborah's women's group with a younger organizer. One of the women she hurt was now leading it. Erin tried starting a podcast. It got 10 listeners. Then disappeared. And me? I started working at a shelter. Helping women leave. Teaching them how to open email accounts their husbands wouldn't find. Helping them get IDs and jobs and confidence. One night, a woman came in with a bruised lip and a garbage bag of clothes. She was scared, silent, small. I gave her a bed, a hot meal, and a printout of my favorite phrase. The same one I'd written at the top of the Dropbox folder. You're not crazy. They just taught you to doubt yourself. She smiled a little. That's when I knew. I'd gotten my revenge. Not by screaming. Not by breaking things. But by becoming everything they said I'd never be.
Free.